All right, and good evening, and welcome to a dash of sports. This week we'll be going over, week 11? Week 11. Man, it's hard to believe that college football is almost over. We've got, 3 or 4 weeks before championship week, and then heading into bowl games. So, as we know, the college football playoff polls have finally come out. But before we get into that, what I need you to do, hit that like, subscribe button down below on the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, go do it right away, please. Go Dash of Life, subscribe, like the channel, subscribe to it. Give us some good feedback on how we're doing. But we're gonna get into this week, week 11. Excuse me, yeah, week 11 for college football. Like I said, the CFP has come out second week, and it seems like every week we don't know how they're going to judge who is in the top 10, right? Like one week they're looking at, well, you got to be dominant, and then next week, well, you can barely squeak by 6, 7, 8, 9 points, and you can still remain, 2, 3, whatever the case may be. So I like to think that I'm unbiased when it comes to this, to my top 10. We all know that it's about money. I mean, it's basically all about money, because if that was the case, we know that some of the undefeated teams would be in the top 4, and not teams with 1 loss over teams with 0 losses. I almost bet that some people want the BCS back, because some of the teams would be in better position in the BCS than they are in this ridiculous poll right now. But like I said, if you play it out, you win. You play it out, you win. The final poll will probably work itself out at the end of the year. So without further ado, I'm going to get into my top 10. Coming in at number 10, I got Notre Dame. I got the Fighting Irish. They're just finishing out. Looks like they're finishing out their ACC schedule. They got a relatively, I won't call it a weak game this week, but they're playing Virginia. We'll get into that a little bit later. But they went out. Do they get in? I don't know. I mean, you've got some teams that if they go undefeated and win their conference, I see them getting in over a 1-loss Notre Dame. That's me, especially being ranked at number 10 right now. Coming in at number 9, Okie State. The Cowboys looked good against West Virginia, played really good. Held them to one of the lowest offensive putouts that they've had this entire year. So Okie State's defense looks really good. They've played almost everybody's tough. They still have Oklahoma left. So to be ranked in the top 10 in defense, that's pretty good for Oklahoma State. We could see a double bedlam this year. We could see double bedlam for not only, for the normal season game, but in the Big 12 championship. If they Okie State and Oklahoma win out the rest of the season. Coming in at number 8, let's be honest here. You're favored by 29, 30 points going into a game, and you only win by 6. Now, like I said, what are we judging on here? Are we judging on how well we play? Because if it's a rivalry game, they're talking about Alabama. Well, LSU's a rivalry game. Well, Oklahoma, Nebraska's a rivalry game. Always has been. So is there a difference there? What are we judging on? What are we basing it on? I mean, obviously we're basing it on the Nick Saban and the Alabama effect. That's my opinion. But I got Alabama at number 8. Again, the teams have figured them out. If you haven't been watching Alabama, teams have figured them out. They just haven't had enough offense to put on the board. The one team that did figure them out and had enough offense, Texas A&M, beat them. LSU came really close. Tennessee came really close there until the fourth quarter. So what I'm saying, teams have figured them out. And once they get to a defensive juggernaut, such as Georgia in the SEC championship game, I don't think they have I don't think they can do it. Coming in at number 7, I got Michigan. I got Wolverines. They lost to Michigan State. There is no way in the world they should be ranked. I get it. Michigan State lost to an unranked Purdue. But Purdue has knocked off top 10 teams. That's a quality loss. But Michigan lost to Michigan State. Yes, Michigan is undefeated right now. Michigan also has not played anybody up till now. other than Michigan State. The one team that they lost to. So I give it to Michigan at number 7. Number 6, Michigan State. They lost to a good Purdue team. They lost to a really good Purdue team. So I've got Michigan State at number 6. I still think they have a shot. You never know. I mean, anything could go on. Ohio State still has to play Michigan. And they still have to play Purdue this week. Can Purdue do it again? We're getting ready to talk about that here in just a few minutes. Coming in at number 5, Oklahoma. Again, they still don't have a quality win, in my opinion. But they're getting ready to come down the wire. They have their 3 toughest games of the season coming up. You got Baylor this weekend, Iowa State, obviously Bedlam at the end of the season. 3 tough games. One of those two, Baylor and Oklahoma State, they're probably going to have to play again in the Big 12 championship if they win out. So, we'll see how that goes. Coming in at number 4, Ohio State. Having Ohio State over Oregon in the head-to-head matchup, it just can't be done. So, I still have Ohio State at number 4. They got Purdue, like we talked about, and we'll talk about this game here coming up in just a minute. Ohio State has Purdue. See if Purdue can do it again. Knock off another top 5 team. Coming in at number 3, Oregon. Again, another team. Both Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, all very close, and barely won games. Barely won. Ohio State had trouble with Nebraska. And not that I'm not saying Nebraska's bad. Nebraska has lost games this year by 7 points or less. 9 points if you count Ohio State. If Nebraska had a field goal kicker, that might have been a different story. Ohio State had a couple of good non-calls for them there at the end of that game as well. So, Ohio State, Purdue, going to be a good matchup. Oregon coming in, they've got Washington State. That should be an easy win for Oregon, so I'm not going to talk much about that one. Cincinnati, yes, they had a close win. Probably should have lost that game. There was a bad call in that game as well. Some horrible officiating throughout the entire weekend from what I saw. Feel like you agree or disagree, let me know. Did you see some of these calls that I did? Since Tulsa, I thought he broke the plane before the ball came out. But, they called it wrong. We'll see. But as of right now, Cincinnati is undefeated. I give them that. I mean, if we're going to judge Alabama on a close win, we should also judge Cincinnati being undefeated on a close win. Don't give me this crap. They're Division I. They're Division I football. Oh, they don't play anybody. They're Division I football, folks. Division I football. So they have a legit gripe to be there. So Cincinnati at number 2, and obviously number 1, Georgia. Again, we know all week long, every week, it's Georgia has no off. I get that. I understand that. I totally get it. But if you can hold the team to 7, 6, 3 points, how many points do you have? You got to score 7 and you win. If you hold the team to 7, 3, 10 and 7 wins it for you. So the defense is doing its job. And they've got a tough defense. For the life of me, I can't figure out why. I mean, that is probably the best crew in college football is the Georgia defense. The best group, the best crew, whatever you want to call it. The Georgia defense is the best defense in all of college football. So if I hold my opponents to 3 and I score 7, who won the national championship? Georgia. So it doesn't matter how, as long as you put more points on the board than the opponent, you're going to win. So Georgia, number 1, I think they'll dismantle Alabama. I don't think Alabama stands a chance, but we'll see. I mean, there's still a lot of football left to play. 3 4 games for all of them. All right, that's my top 10. Let me know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have anything different? Did I miss something? Please let me know. Heisman. No, I don't even know where the Heisman is this year. I mean, everybody's got Bryce Young out of Alabama just because he's an Alabama quarterback. The kid has not shown that he is the most valuable player on that team. He's making mistakes. I don't know why he's the front runner just because they're Alabama. My personal opinion right now, it's changed. My Heisman's changed a little bit. Kenneth Walker III is the best running back in the nation right now. He's probably the most valuable player on a team. Because that, folks, is what the Heisman is. It's not the most popular player. It's not the most popular player on a team. That's because they're Alabama. That's not how the Heisman goes. The majority of these people that are picking the Heisman probably couldn't even tell you what goes on a football field. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. I'm not lying. They might know football, but do they know the ins and outs of football? I mean, I can go out there and write a report on. I'm doing it right here. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the greatest person when it comes to talking football. I don't know everything about it, but I can tell you that the Heisman is for the most outstanding player, and it doesn't say for the most wins. So if Michigan State ends up with one loss or two losses, whatever the case may be, and Kenneth Walker's running all over everybody, even in those losses, he has 4 or 5 touchdowns. You can't tell me that he is not the best player in football. And that, in my opinion, Kenneth Walker is the best player. He is the Heisman. And he should win it outright, in my honest opinion. Kenneth Walker III is my Heisman number 1. Number 2, C.J. Stroud. Had a rough outing a little bit against Nebraska. Kept his composure, took him to the win. So I give him that. He's still number 2. Number 3, I have Caleb Williams. Does a freshman deserve to be in the top 3 of a Heisman when he's only played 4 games? 4.5. Does the Heisman? Does he deserve the Heisman? Well, he's making waves, and he's obviously the most valuable player on OU right now. Because let's face it, they could be 3 losses deep if it wasn't for Caleb Williams. They could be 3 losses deep if it wasn't for Caleb Williams. So he, in my book, is a Heisman favorite. Does he win? No. But he should be mentioned. And finally, I watched this kid. I finally got to see this kid for the first time against North Carolina. Sam Hartman from Wake Forest. They were undefeated. They went into this game. A lot of people I picked against Wake Forest. I had North Carolina winning it. But all the odds were against Wake Forest, and this kid stuck it out and stayed in that game. Literally, up until the last few minutes of that game, until North Carolina kneeled the ball, Wake Forest was still in this game, and this kid was slinging the ball around, and I watched him, and I like his style. And again, the Heisman is not about how many wins you have in a season. It's about, are you the most valuable player for that team? So I got Sam Hartman winning or in the top 4 now. I think he's a good quarterback. He showed so much poise. He had some mistakes, yeah, but he looked great, and he kept his team in it. And Wake Forest could still be undefeated. But I get it, they're not. But he did a great job. So that's my Heisman. Let me know. Do you think I'm wrong? Let me recap it for you. Number 1, Kenneth Walker III from Michigan State. C.J. Stroud from Ohio State is number 2. Caleb Williams is number 3 from Oklahoma. And number 4, Sam Hartman from Wake Forest. That's my top 4 for the Heisman. I could see all 4 of those sitting in the finalist chairs come Heisman time. I really can. So let me know what you think. Is my Heisman right? Is it wrong? Did I miss somebody? Just because he's wearing a number on his helmet and has Roll Tide on his shirt doesn't mean he's the top player in all of college football. I'm getting tired of. I'm just tired of it, and that's my opinion. All right, so like I said, just some bad officiating all week long. Some bad calls in Ohio State, Nebraska. Some bad calls in Cincinnati, Tulsa. I'm seeing it in NFL. I'm seeing bad calls. We'll get to more. I'll talk more about that tomorrow night with Vern when we get on the Red River show. We'll talk more about some obviously the Big 12 and matchups, as well as some NFL matchups. But if you didn't catch it, We talked about it last night. The officiating, not only in college and NFL, is horrible. Horrible, horrible. I've seen it for a few weeks now. We had a horrible taunting call or unsportsmanlike conduct in the Iowa State Oklahoma State game where the kid runs in the end zone and a bad call. We had a bad call for Oklahoma State on a 4th and 1. Ridiculous call. The guy was obviously well past the first down. So there's horrible officiating. Let me know. Something need to be done. Is it just there's not any consistency, if you know what I'm talking about. So let me know what you think. Do you think there needs to be something done? Is it something on the refs? Is it just 2021? What is it? It's craziness. Scott Frost, a guy who I thought would lose his job, actually keeps it. They keep him for another year. Which I'm okay with that. Because, like I said, I don't think any coach should have been fired this year. I honestly don't. You're coming out of a pandemic. You're coming out of a couple years where you didn't have a chance to really, really work with your guys. We know all the mandates. We know all the restrictions. California and USC have to reschedule their game. We know what's going on in California. And I'm not against trying to make this political or anything, but even the kids in California on the team are not happy that they have to cancel because one person got COVID. So no coaches should be losing their jobs. The Big 12 has lost two so far. You lost Coach O at LSU. You lost the coach at Washington State because he didn't want to wear a mask and get a shot. Firing coaches because of this is ridiculous. So, like I said, Scott Frost keeps his job, but they fire 4 people. Florida. They fire 4. I think they fired some of their assistant coaches. Not the head coach, assistant coaches. Nobody needs to lose their job coming out of a pandemic. None of them. No coaches. I get it. You've had some rough years. I believe, and this is Dash's opinion, I don't, yours could be totally different. But I honestly believe they didn't, they may be playing games, but they didn't get to have a spring with these guys? A lot of schools didn't get to have spring with these guys. A lot of them, up until the season started, had to do certain things differently. Practice differently and things like that, depending on, obviously, what state you're in. So do coaches deserve to lose their job? No, I don't think so. I get it. LSU wants to win. They're not doing they're not doing what LSU should be doing, but they're not doing horribly bad either. You beat Florida, you beat some good teams. You could have beat Alabama. Should have beat Alabama. So, do you need to lose a job? I get it. Backers, whatever, alumni, I know they control it. I get it. I get it. So, my next question is, all these shuffling around. We've talked about this many, many, many times. Does OU and Texas leave this year for the SEC? After this season, do they move? Because I foresee a lot of, if it's not this season, it's going to be next. But I see a lot of it happening within the next year or two, just because, we didn't know for 6 to 7 months, that OU and Texas were even talking to the SEC. So what's to say that they haven't already talked about getting in to the SEC next year? Do you think they leave, or do you think they stay one more year? Let me know what you think in the comments. All right, let's get. I've ranted enough, because I'm going to rant some more tomorrow night on the Big 12 football Red River with Vern. I'll have my rants for that, especially about some of this poll crap. Not happy with it. I'm not saying that Oklahoma deserves to be in the top 4. I'm not saying that. But I do think there is some bias. There's obviously Big Ten bias right now. And some SEC bias. Like I said, I firmly believe Cincinnati believes in the top 2. I firmly believe that. You can disagree, and that's fine. That's what I want. I want to hear some feedback. disagree with me. Tell me why I'm wrong. All right, let's get into the picks this week. First up, game 1 of Oklahoma's 3-game stretch where they have to put up or shut up. So we got Oklahoma going into Baylor. Baylor just came off a nasty, I'm going to say it, a nasty loss. TCU just lost Gary Patterson. And a third stringer quarterback that used to be on the campus of OU goes down and starts the game for TCU and dismantles. Yes, it was a close game, but he threw 400 some odd yards on an awesome, great defense that Baylor has. 400 yards in the air. So, I don't know. Did Baylor have a letdown? We'll see. But I got Oklahoma 31, Baylor 28. Oklahoma 31, Baylor 28. If you go back and look at the last few years, the average score is I think is 7 points between Oklahoma and Baylor. I think that's the average. So, I got Oklahoma winning by 4, 31-28 over Baylor. Next up, we got Northwestern with Wisconsin finally back in the top 25, if you will. Wisconsin making some waves. Got the number 3 defense in the nation. They're doing good. Northwestern let me down this year. I thought they'd have a lot better team than they did. Northwestern 10, Wisconsin 27. Northwestern 10, Wisconsin 27. Another key matchup this week. Michigan at Penn State. We already know Harbaugh has a hard time winning big games. Yeah, he's won a lot of games this year. They're not undefeated. They're not undefeated. But he hasn't won some. Granted, he hasn't won some big games. And the one tough game that he played, he lost. Penn State's going to be another tough game. We saw how Penn State played against Ohio State. And Michigan is not Ohio State, folks. In no way, shape, or form is Michigan Ohio State. Penn State 24, Michigan 21. Penn State 24, Michigan 21. Houston at Temple. No brainer. Houston 31, Temple 10. There's nothing to talk about that. Houston getting ready to go into the Big 12 along with UCF, BYU, and Cincinnati. All teams with winning records. I think three of those teams right now. I could be wrong. Maybe all 4 of them are. I know BYU, Houston, Cincinnati, all in the top 25. Getting ready to go to the Big 12. That's a good measure. Oh, they don't play anybody. They're in Division 1 football, folks. These kids are good. They're playing in college. With the people who are saying, oh, they don't play anybody, who are sitting their asses at home, where I am, saying they're no good and they don't play anybody. Get out of here. Because they're playing the games and you're not. You're sitting in your nice, cushy little recliner with your Miller Lite and a big screen TV and air conditioning, or as the heater's getting ready to come on sooner down the road, telling these teams that they're no good because they don't play in your division. Get out of here. Georgia at Tennessee. I'd like to think that Tennessee has gotten a little bit better this year. But again, when you're holding teams to 14, 7, 3, shutout, the average scoring on that defense, 10 points. All year long, 10 points. That's the average score for that defense has given up for the entire, 10 points. Georgia 34, Tennessee 10. Georgia 34, Tennessee 10. All right, we got Southern Miss going into the Roadrunners, UTSA. I love getting to talk about UTSA. Who doesn't? Undefeated. Again, another undefeated team. The Roadrunners. Go Runners. UTSA stays undefeated. Southern Miss don't have a chance. I'm going to go 29-17. UTSA. The Roadrunners 29, Southern Miss 17. You know, at the beginning of the year, I wouldn't have picked this as a big game. Though after watching Purdue take down two top 5 teams. Let's not even say top 10. Top 5 teams. Hell, top 4 teams. Because Iowa was number 2 and Michigan State, I believe, was number 4. Or number 3. They might have been number 3. I can't remember correctly. Number 3. They beat them. This is teams that the pollsters and now the CFP have put, oh, these teams are great. And Purdue has beaten them and knocked them off. Can Purdue do it for a third week? Purdue goes into Ohio State. Can they do it? Let me know what you think. I got this as... Ohio State has played really close games the last couple weeks. Against Penn State it was close. And against Nebraska it was close. Purdue's no Nebraska. Purdue's a good football team. I'm not calling the upset, though. I'm not calling the upset. I want to, and I might change my mind. Ohio State, 31. Purdue, 30. 1 point game. 1 point game. Ohio State, 31. Purdue, 30. No, I don't have Alabama on here this week because they're playing like New Mexico State or somebody. So we know they got to pad their stats for the CFP. They'll probably get ranked number 1 because they blew out New Mexico State. That tough New Mexico State team. We know how tough they are. So I decided to pick Notre Dame, Virginia game. So Notre Dame at Virginia. Notre Dame looks good. The Golden Helmets, they're only lost to Cincinnati, who's undefeated. Notre Dame, 34. Virginia, 17. TCU at Okie State. TCU at Okie State. Can lightning strike twice for TCU? Was all that they needed to do get rid of Gary Patterson to win football games? No. I just think Baylor and TCU always play each other tough. They're a rivalry. They play each other tough. Knew that. We knew it going in. If you didn't, you need to go back and watch some of the great games between those two. It's in Stillwater. Okie State rarely gets upset in Stillwater. Rarely. Unless it's OU coming in and being an underdog. Then maybe it might happen. But TCU goes into Okie State. TCU 10. Okie State 38. That defense at Oklahoma State is just phenomenal. That's all you can say about it. I've picked them to lose so many times this year because I thought that the offense could not put up the points. But that defense is stout. Yeah, offense is not putting up points. But again, like we talked about earlier in the show, if your defense doesn't allow them to score as many points as your offense does, you're going to win. And that's exactly what Oklahoma State's been doing. Oklahoma State 38, TCU 10. For the final game, Oregon at Washington State. Another team like we talked about. Oregon barely scraping by, getting by. This should be an easy win for Oregon. Washington State, just since they lost their coach, they just, But anything can happen. I get it. I mean, they played really close to Washington. Washington led that game for a long time. It wasn't until halftime adjustments that Oregon started making some moves. But still, it was a close game. I don't know if Oregon's got what it takes to finish it out, win it out. They still got some tough games down the road. Oregon, 41. Washington State, 17. Oregon, 41. Washington State, 17. That is my picks for the week. Let me know. We'll try to get other games. I try to give the best picks and the best games and the best matchups that I can. But let me know what you think in the comments. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? This will be uploaded to YouTube tomorrow. All my season-long pickers can go in and make their picks tomorrow. If you'd like to be a guest, come in. We've got a lot of great guest pickers. They have entered a chance to win $100. They're eligible for the bowl season. So got a lot of great. So with that, I've got to give the current standings. Mike Rucker again wins 2 weeks in a row for Mike. He went 9-1. 9-1. He almost went undefeated this week. I think his only loss I think he picked Kentucky over Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the one that he missed. Other than that, 9-1. Great job, Mike. It was a great week. But the overall standings is getting close. Man, we had Chris Price leading for almost the entire season. Literally the entire season, Chris Price was leading. He's now 2 games back. Steve Jones has jumped up into the lead at 67-33. Followed close by second place, Mike Rucker. 1 game behind. Chris Price, 2 games behind. Jason Newman is 3 games behind. And Joel is 4 games behind. And then myself and Clay, Tim, and Brian were all 8, 9, and 10 games behind. I don't know if we're going to catch. But good job. It's getting closer. The games get tougher. Especially in the next 3 weeks. Some of these teams are actually going to be playing a lot of great football. So it's going to be tough, and it's going to be fun to see who ends up winning the $100 prize this year for the season long. But again, if you want to be a guest picker, jump in there. You become eligible for the bowl season. So just go in. When this is uploaded to YouTube tomorrow, jump in there, post your picks, let me know. And thanks for coming out tonight. Don't forget tomorrow night, Vern and I talk Big 12 football. Lots to talk about with OU. Lots to talk about with Texas, Oklahoma State. Some crazy games like I just talked about, but we'll talk more about that in depth with Vern tomorrow. Plus, Vern and I get to talk some NFL and what our picks are and who's going to win the belt. Find out who's going to win the belt. It's coming up soon. I'm in the lead. I got a few game lead on Vern. I'm going to bring that championship belt home. So thank you for coming out tonight. This was fun. I love doing sports. If there's anything I can do different, let me know in the comments. But thank you for coming out. Remember to take care of one another, love one another, and I'll see you on the next Dash of Sports.